Well, good morning, guys, and welcome back to Tack Unbridled. I'm your host, Daniel. Thank you for joining us. And how are you all doing today? Is everybody doing all right? I gotta say, 2 days ago, I passed that kidney stone I mentioned in the last episode. Oh boy, it feel great now. But for those of you that have ever had a kidney stone, you think life's coming to an end. But all's good now. Everything is good, feeling good. And it's good to be back doing our next episode here. So we're going to jump right into it because this one's going to be, I'm going to try to, keep it as short as I can, but this is going to be a long one. This one episode is basically how I choose the companies to do business with. What companies that I'm going to sell their products for them. And, in my opinion, the do's and don'ts for those companies. Generically overall, I look for a company that has a good quality product, that is fair market value, or at least holds its value and is worth the money that they're asking for the product. Fairly easy to navigate to order the products. I like quality products. I like a company that stands behind their products. A lot of companies have sales reps, not all, but some companies have sales reps. So the sales rep has a lot of determining factor. If they're easy and good to work with, then yeah, absolutely, that's a plus. So those are a lot of the things I look for. Just ease of doing business with this company. And some are great, fantastic to work with, and others aren't. And if you take anything away from this podcast, I urge you to know that these companies that you want to do business with, don't let them bully you around. You are devoting a section of your store for their product. So you're doing them a favor. Now, I don't expect any kind of special red carpet treatment and any of that kind of stuff. But there's been companies that I've done business with that, tell me what they're going to put in my store and how I need to advertise it and all that. Like, no, that's not their call. That's my call. They don't know my customer base. I do. So, and it's quite okay to fire a company and say, no, I'm not doing business with you. Don't let them tell you that there's no way that you can replace us. There's nothing else out on the market, that's going to replace us. Baloney. There's absolutely, there's multiple companies out there that you can do business with that appreciate you, because essentially you're the customer of them. You're getting the product from them and selling the stuff for them. So, you're helping them out. And it's supposed to work both ways, I don't want to get into any argument with these companies and all of that. It's nothing like that. But, I've seen, not all companies, but there's a few out there that have this like bully type mentality where they're just going to bully you around. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. We're all, supposed to be in this together. We're all supposed to be helping each other out. And, the simple fact of the matter is I'm dedicating square footage of my store for your company, for your product. So don't tie my hands behind my back and make it impossible. Um, and, you know, it's been, I've said before, this is our 14th year doing this. And, we've dealt with literally hundreds of companies through the years. And some of them I'm still with from day one. Others come and go. Others start out real great and crash and burn. Other ones I have to bite my tongue with to a point because they have a semi-unique product. A lot of times what happens is I actually like the product more than I like the company that I'm doing business with. So I'll grin and bear it and bite my tongue to a point. But, sometimes you can only get pushed around so much, and then enough is enough. Like I said, sales reps are a big deal. And, my company, MadTack, I'm not a needy company. I don't need a sales rep here to hold my hand all of the time. I've have companies that, I'll get 2, 3, 4 emails per day, and I don't need that. I don't need a sales rep to hold my hand and all of that. But that support is nice at times. It's, a couple times a year, maybe once a quarter, to see the sales rep, get some emails to see what new products are coming out. That's all. It's all great stuff, and it's very very helpful to see. So I've had to get rid of a company just solely based on their sales rep. They without getting political, and this isn't a political podcast at all, but the sales rep is the face of the company that you're doing business with. So they have to present themselves professionally. And I had this one company, and I won't name names, but they were on there posting all of this political stuff on their social media page, but then sprinkling in between business stuff. So it was, I'm just, again, this isn't a political post, but they were out there, doing a post about, check out these new gloves that are on the market, and they've got this great, fingertips and this, this great quality glove. And then the next post right after that is death to Trump. Boy, I wish his head would have been blown off. And then the next post after that, check out this new sunglasses. Like, come on. That's completely unprofessional. If you can have your beliefs and all of that stuff and want to post, private, personal stuff, but don't intermingle it with business stuff. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. So I called the company. I was like, there's no way. There's no way I want to do business with you if this is who you're using to represent your company. And credit to them, they looked into it and they were like, you're absolutely right. And essentially they made us a house account, which means they just cut her out. So she wasn't making any commission or cut off of, our sales, which perfect. That's the way it should be. So anyway, so I made a list here of great companies to do business with and bad companies to do business with. And this is just based on my personal experience with these companies. And the point of this episode is to not throw the bad companies underneath the bus and tell you guys don't do business with them. That's not what this is about. But I want to explain the mistakes, in my opinion, that these companies have made to me as MadTack which makes me not want to do business with them. And I will never have their products in my store anymore based on some of the things that they've done. And I know, this podcast, it's not going to bring these companies down. And that's not my intention. And possibly, maybe these companies, maybe they have new management. Maybe things have turned around. Maybe they're a whole lot different and they're a great company to do business with. But, and this is where my stubbornness kicks in, I'll never know because they've already burned that bridge with me. And I won't do business with them anymore. And a couple of them have reached out since then and been like, oh man, please, please, please. And I'm like, no, that's, for me, that's just a personal trait. Like, you burn me once and that's it. We're done. Like it's not that I don't have any forgiveness in me, but it once trust is lost, it's tough to get back. So, and like I said, this is not by any means to bash these companies, for me to attack them. It's just to point out the mistakes that have been made. In my opinion, again, this is just my opinion. These companies, most of them are huge, multi-million-dollar companies. What I say isn't going to matter to these guys at all. And most of them probably couldn't care less. They're not going to watch this podcast. But I also do want to highlight the good companies too. Because there's some companies that go above and beyond, and I want to make that known too, that what a great outfit they are. So let's get started here. I explained. So the number one on my list that I will never do business with, and it's a real shame because those of you that know this market, the horse market, know that Ariat is a big deal. They're one of the biggest. But you'll never see an Ariat product in my store. You just won't. And that stems all the way back to when we very first started this business. The first 2 years we were in business with Mad Tack, we were solely a mobile unit. We didn't have a brick and mortar. It was just a mobile unit. And for those of you up at that time, up in Pennsylvania, there was this insanely huge retail trade show called ADA. And you would go there and you would set up accounts with new companies, get to see the product and learn about it and all that. And my wife, Samantha, went up there back in 2014 or 15. Again, it was like our first year. And we were like, oh man, if we're going to be a tack store, we got to have Ariat. We got to have them. So Sam went and spoke with the sales reps and the people there at the Ariat booth. And at first they were very nice, showing all the product and all that. And then when the time come to set up the account, they're like, okay, we need the address of your brick and mortar. And she's like, oh, well, we're not a brick and mortar yet. We're just solely a mobile unit. You talk about like sticking their nose up. Oh, excuse me. We do not do business with mobile units. Please remove yourself from our booth. The snobbiness and the mentality of that has cemented a part of me that will never, ever let Ariat in this store. And it's kind of a shame, but you don't treat your potential people like that. They don't know what we were going to be doing down the road, that we were going to open up a brick and mortar and have 2 stores simultaneously. They didn't know any of that. And they could have just politely said, oh, yeah, I'm, really, really sorry, but, we can't do it. But, please contact us if you get a brick and mortar. That would have been fine. But the snobbiness and the just stuck up nastiness, no, unacceptable. Another one kind of along the same route of that is None Finer. This was about a year or so after that we actually had the brick and mortar going. We went back up to Ada, really liked their products, went to the booth, spent, oh boy, like an hour there looking at all of the products. We placed our initial order, did all of the application paperwork and all that. And I thought everything was good. And then it was about a week later, we got an email from them and said, we're sorry, but your account's been denied. Account's been canceled. And I was like, and that was just it. The email just ended. I was like, what? So I called them up and I was like, I don't understand what's going on. What we, did everything properly. And they're like, oh, well, we have proximity, what do you call it? A proximity area where we can't have more than one of our vendors within a certain area, which a lot of companies have that. And I respect that, because then it basically, every single little local person can't just open an account with them, and then there'd be 35 accounts within a 5-mile radius. So I got that. I understood that, but we were the only ones. So I was like, I don't understand, what are you talking about? There isn't any other dealers in our area. They're like, we've had a long-standing relationship with Crawford Sadlery. We've been doing business with them for over 30 years, and they're our number one, and, and we can't step on their toes. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Crawford Sadlery went out of business 5 years ago. 5 years ago, they went out of business. And you're telling me that they're your number one client and you didn't realize they haven't ordered anything from you in 5 years? And they were like, oh, we're going to have to look into that. Well, yeah, you better. You better look into it. And ultimately, they still denied us, because they still thought that Crawford Sadlery was still in business. For the life of me, I just couldn't understand it. Another one that you'll never see here, but honestly, at this point, you can't see, is Noble Outfitters. We were one of the very first companies that opened up an account with Noble here in Virginia. And I mean, we dumped a lot of money, thousands and thousands of dollars into this company. And it was a good product, and we sold a lot of it, and we dealt with them for a few years. And then again, all of a sudden we get this email from them. Thank you for your support, but you're done. We've decided to go to Dover Sadlery, and we've bailed on all of the people that got us to where we are. We're going to Dover. And talk about a slap in the face. The funny thing is now, they're hurting. They're about to go under. So good riddance. Good riddance. Another one for me, Horse Holster. Again, a nice product, but talk about a horrible company to do business with. My God. We first started out with them. We're selling, they're basically like a cell phone holder for horseback riders, and you can attach it to your body like this big Velcro strap. And it's cool. It's a neat product. A bunch of different colors and all that. Really fun, cool. First year or two, everything was fine. There was no problem. We were a net 30 account. And then after a certain time, net 30 went to net 14. Then it was net 7. Then it was, due immediately. Then it was, you need to buy 72 of them a year. And then it was, you need to stock so many. And then it's just like this and that and this and that. And we were getting emails from them like 2 and 3 a day. So I sent a response. I was like, can you please unsubscribe us? Like, we don't need this many emails. I got an email back. Okay, your account's been canceled. I'm like, no, I don't want the account canceled. I just cut back on the emails. Then they went online and did this big, massive promotion that all of their stuff was 50% off. So I sent a message. I was like, great, let me order, so many. Oh, that doesn't count for wholesalers. So you're selling a product for less than I'm buying it from you, but I can't get any kind of discount? And they're like, oh, well, you can pass the discount along to your customers. Yeah, awesome, great. I'll just completely cut into my profit margin. Like, that's not how you do business. You just don't. So, goodbye to them. They're done. Um, it, Coat defense. Now this one's a tough one because Coat defense. For those of you who don't know, they make like rain rot powders and ointments and stuff like that. The product is awesome. This was a tough one for me. The product is awesome. I will give them all the benefit of the doubt that the product is great. But talk about a horrible company to do business with. Unbelievable. And they're non-horse people, which is fine, whatever. But the husband of the thing, oh my God, he just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand how to run a business. He showed up at some events that we were vendoring, and he was running after people on the trail ride and sprinkling stuff on their horses while they're trying to ride away. I mean, it's just they had lots of shipping problems. They were hand delivering stuff and then charging us for shipping, and ultimately another product came on the market called Equiderma. I love that product. We sell a lot of it. They're an easy company to do business with. So, guess what? You don't see on the shelf anymore. Um, Another one. I'm not gonna name names on this one. But this was a company that came along, was selling uh, clothing, apparel, really great stuff. It was really, really good stuff. And small, mom and pop style company. And they were offering, we bought into the company, we brought a lot of product in, and then they were offering this really awesome deal where customers could go online, order the product through their website, and put in a discount code of MadTack. And we get a 10% cut. And I mean, that's a win-win-win for everybody, the customer, the apparel company, and me. Like, it's just fantastic. But then they started offering all these other coupon codes and offering free shipping and all of that stuff. And you could only enter one code at a time, and they were offering other codes. So MedTech got completely caught out of the loop, and people were just going to the website and ordering the product and getting discounts and free shipping without us getting any of it. So ultimately, I kind of phased it out, and it wasn't any hard feelings or anything, but it just was kind of one of those things that slipped through the cracks. And ultimately, I just decided it wasn't worth it anymore. Um, Here's another one, and this one was a tough one for me to swallow because this was one of the first companies we set the count up with. But a company called RJ Matthews, which sells all of the HABA stuff, health and beauty aid stuff, fly sprays, shampoos, treats, leather care stuff, all the chemical type stuff. Been doing business with them for ages, and they would offer these spring time discount orders where you could order a lot of stuff in bulk and have it shipped in tractor trailer, and receive big discounts and save on freight. So we did that for years, no problem. We were always net 30 with them, always paid our account, everything was good until this one year. We placed our springtime booking order, and it was a lot of stuff, like 2 pallets worth of stuff, and everything was great. And then one morning, I get a call from the company. It was like, we've got your stuff on the truck ready to leave. You need to go ahead and pay. I was like, I don't understand. We're net 30 account. Oh yeah, we changed our minds. We no longer do net 30 with anybody. You need to prepay before the truck leaves. I was like, I don't have that. I can't afford that. That's why we do the net 30, so I can get the product and have 30 days to start selling product before you get paid. I was like, I can't do that. And they're like, well, you need to. You have to. It's on the truck. It's ready to leave. You need to pay. I was like, well, you know what? Go get the forklift and unload the truck. Oh, man, were they angry. I think they were just trying to bend me over a barrel. I still to this day, I don't understand what went down with that. You don't just change the terms of an account when you feel like it. So yeah, that was it. I was like, I'm not paying it. So go ahead, unload it. Man, they were angry. God, they were angry. Um, Another one for me. Now I still have this account, and I've had a rocky relationship with this account. There's been plenty of ups and plenty of downs. But Weatherbeeta, again, I like the product, and most of the time I like the company. But here's, one little incident that happened quite a few years ago that just left a real sour taste in my mouth. Same sort of thing. Every year, during the summertime, we would buy a bunch of their closeout blankets. And the only thing that makes them a closeout blanket is the color. And 9 times out of 10, the customers don't care about the color of the blanket. They just want a waterproof, warm horse blanket. So we'd always buy the closeouts, and it just made sense for us. So this one year comes up, and I call in, and I was like, can I get the closeout list so we can order? And they're like, oh, really sorry. We had a really tough winter, and we sold out pretty much of all of our blankets, and we don't have any closeouts. And I was like, oh, man, okay, all right, I understand that. Yeah, it's fine. It is what it is. So let's go ahead and we'll do a blanket booking, which is when you order the new blankets, a season prior, and then you set up a ship date to have them, delivered and all that. So that's what we did. And I ordered a bunch of blankets. I think it was about 2 weeks later, I get an email from them with a closeout list. And it's full of blankets. So I call back up. I'm like, wait, what? What the heck? I was like, I thought you said that there was no closeouts because this is what we usually always order. Oh, yeah, well, sorry. But yeah, now we've got closeouts. I'm like, well, all right, then go ahead and cancel my booking, and I'm going to go ahead and order some closeouts. Nope, you can't do that. You're already locked into the booking. And that didn't sit right with me at all. Unfortunately, I didn't have the extra money to do both. And I didn't, we're not the kind of store that I needed to do both closeout and regular. I didn't need to have hundreds of blankets here. So it just really left a sour taste in my mouth about, they knew that there was closeout blankets. They had to have. You don't just, it wasn't just one or two either. I mean, I'm talking about hundreds of blankets on closeout. Like, that just doesn't appear. So, I don't know. That one left a sour taste. What else do I have here? Shiloh. So they're based out of, I believe, North Carolina. They're kind of like a JT International type company. They sell, buckets and scoops and saddle stands and a lot of stable supplies. They have tack and all that too, but we pretty much use them for our stable supply stuff. And again, one of the first companies we ever set up with. And I mean, through the first 10 years, but we just did tons and tons and tons of business with that. And then we had 1 year that was off, and we just didn't buy a lot. We didn't spend a lot of money. The following year, I go to place an order, and place the order, and I get this nasty email back from them that because we didn't spend enough money with them last year, our account was officially closed. Never got an email, never got a notification, nothing. That apparently you needed to spend $500 with them a year in order to keep the account alive and active. Nowhere did I get an email towards the end of the year that said, hey, you haven't reached your 500, do you want to place an order? Nothing like that. So the following year, I go to place this order, and your account's closed. Now, the order I was placing was something like $475 or something like that. And they're like, if you want to open up your account again, you need to spend another $25 to get you over to $500, in order to reestablish the account. I was like, you know what? Take it and shove it. It's not worth it. You guys aren't that special. I can get your products other place. You know, if you would have handled it differently, if you would have said, hey, God, I'm really sorry. I mean, this is, you didn't spend enough last year. Can we, but when you just come out attacking, no, sorry, just doesn't work for me. Um, and there's a couple other ones that have been crummy. There's one in particular though. Um, I would love to call them out. Um, Probably the worst company we have ever done business with. And I could dedicate an entire episode of this podcast series on how horrible of a company this is. Um, the fact that they do not stand behind their product was the icing on the cake for me. We brought in, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of this product. And there was a few of the products that we're having problems with and customers were having problems with. And we went back to the company and said, hey, this is falling apart or whatever. And they just denied all accountability for everything. That's a customer issue. It ain't ours. Nothing to do with us. Um, Shipping was a nightmare. They were constantly sending it to wrong addresses after I repeatedly told them that they were screwing up. Overcharging us, padding orders, which is, we would order 3 items and a box would show up and there'd be 6 items in it. And they're like, yeah, well, you need these other items. So we went ahead and we charged you for them. Just horrible. I don't want to name their name because a lot of people have the product. And I still have some of their products in the store. I'm trying to clear it out. But I don't want to name their name. For those of you that know us, you probably can put the pieces together to figure out who the company is. But once their stuff is gone and out of here, I will never, at this point, even with their stuff in the store, I will never, ever do business with them again. Anything and everything that you could do wrong as a company, they have done. So, good riddance. On that note, let's talk about the good. Let's end this one on a good note, shall we? And I am all about giving credit where credit is due. So the good companies, and again, I should have said in the beginning of this podcast, this is not by any means, this is not an all-inclusive list of all the companies we do business with. There are still hundreds of companies that we do business with that I haven't even mentioned. A lot of smaller mom and pop, just one product, and bigger companies that I just haven't listed. I haven't named out. I'm not going to go through every single company that we do business with. There's too many. There's just too many. I'm just picking out some of the highlights in both categories. So the good. Shires Equestrian. 50 gold stars. You talk about a company that does everything right and the way it should be done. Love them. Love them. They have an easy to navigate website that shows inventory levels that are in stock. So you don't, there's a lot of other companies, good and bad companies, that their website's set up that they just have the product. You put it in the shopping cart, you pay for it. And then when the box shows up, oh, yep, sorry, all these items are back ordered. Whereas Shires, they have the inventory right there on the screen. So, if whatever you're ordering a helmet or whatever, hey, they have 25 of them in stock. Oh, great, cool. Let me order. Now, if the inventory says that they have 1 left in stock, all right, well, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but at least it gives me the option to see. So I'm not worried about back ordered stuff. The sales rep is a super nice lady. See her usually twice a year. but sends emails with updates on products and price lists and stuff. Just I cannot say enough good things about them. Fantastic company to do business with. SSG. SSG makes gloves. Um, Great. They're great. It's a good product. The pricing is good. They now have a fantastic website. Same thing, shows inventory levels. Um, get product in quickly. Great. Fantastic company. Um, Heritage is another one. Heritage, the same thing as gloves. Now, unfortunately, Heritage just got bought out by another company, JPC, who is a company that I will not do business with. So that one's really that one stings a bit because Heritage, it's a great product, and I loved doing business with them. Really top notch company. And unfortunately, they got gobbled up by a conglomerate that I'm not going to do business with. So kind of stinks. Fabtron. For those of you who don't know, Fabtron is a saddle company in Tennessee. They make Fabtron saddles and Crates saddles. They are some of the nicest people. They're just, you call them on the phone and you feel like you're talking to your grandma sitting in the kitchen making cookies. It, they're awesome. Those people down there are fantastic. Great product. Well, almost everything that they have is made in-house, handmade there in Tennessee. I they're a cool company. I love them to death. Tory is another one. Tory makes leather products. And every time I talk to them on the phone, fantastic. Just their prices haven't increased in like years, which is incredible. All handmade stuff, good top quality leather. I mean, just an all around great company. Perry's is another one. Just I always get emails from them, special freight deals. We don't order a lot of stuff from them, but the stuff that we do get always comes in quickly. It's always great quality stuff. They stand behind their products. Just an all around good, great company. Um, Animal Health is another one. That's who we use now to replace RJ Matthews with all the chemicals and fly sprays and all that stuff. Um, Again, great website, shows inventory. They run special freight deals because a lot of that stuff gets heavy, the supplements and bottles of this and that get heavy. So they run all these special deals and stuff. JT International, it's another one. I don't do a whole lot of business with them, but every time I do, it's great. They're who we use to kind of replace Shiloh. Um, good stuff, good pricing, good shipping. So there's plenty of good companies out there, and you just have to pick and choose. Some you're going to mesh with, and some you're not. And some of them sting. I'm not going to lie. Some of them sting. When they burn the bridge, at least with me. And again, that's a personal thing that sometimes I have to work through, biting my tongue and forgiveness and all of that. But the simple fact of the matter is that these companies are supposed to work with you, and I don't care if you're a multi-million dollar company, an online company, and you're buying hundreds of thousands of dollars from these companies, or you're like me, a mom and pop that doesn't have that kind of budget. You're still supposed to treat all of them the same. And that's where a lot of these companies burn the bridge with me, because I guess I'm not spending the hundreds of thousands of dollars with them, that they're going to just kind of bully me around. But the thing is there's enough of us small retail shops that you push us around long enough, it's going to come back and it's going to hurt you. And that's not a threat. That's just the way it is. So yeah, I don't know how to explain it any different than that. Just make it easy to do business with. Don't have any kind of just don't change your rules and terms and all of this stuff. Um, don't treat everybody differently. And again, like I said before, I don't expect any kind of special treatment. I don't need anybody to come and hold my hand and make it uh, that way. But don't. I'm selling your product for you. And when they put all of these, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here. I hope you guys understand what I mean with all of this. There's plenty of other companies that I would like to set up accounts with. They've got good product and good stuff, but their opening terms are more than I can handle. One of them is Horseware Ireland. I mean that you in my opinion, you really can't get much of a better blanket than what they have with the Rambo series. But their requirements in order to set the count up, I can't do. I cannot do it, and that's fine. It is what it is. I'm not a big enough company that I can swallow spending that kind of money on just one company. I have to spread it out to make sure everybody has what they want, what the products that I can get, but. Some of the saddle companies and stuff, in order to open an account, it's a minimum of 3 saddles. Well, when you're talking about high-end saddles, 3 of them gets really expensive. Now, I don't expect them to make a special exception for me because I'm smaller, and that's fine. And it is what it is. That's their rules. But some of these companies, they change. And then you get no notification, and you're just kind of hung out there to dry, and I don't know, that's not cool with me. So, anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this podcast or this episode of this podcast. I didn't, like I said, my intention were not to trash these companies. My purpose of this episode was to just inform you guys, those that are starting a new business or setting up accounts with different companies and stuff, what you're in store for. There's good and bad in everything, and there's no difference with companies that you want to get product in from. But don't let them bully you. Don't go for that, because in the long run, you're helping them out because you're selling their product for them. So, they're supposed to work with you. And, after doing this for all of this time, I've learned that there's just some that I won't do business with anymore, and others that I absolutely appreciate and I love to do business with. So, anyway, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I didn't come off as a complainer, a whiner, and somebody that's just, oh, yeah, you got burned one time and, you're being a baby about it. No, I'm not. It's just, you don't treat somebody that wants to help you out that way. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know down below, what topics you want me to talk about. I'm thinking I want to do an interview with Sam and her business, so I'm not sure if that'll be the next one or not. But I want to do one that obviously I want to talk about. I want to talk about employees. I still got a lot of topics, more than a year worth of topics I want to talk about. But I also want to hear what you guys would like to hear. What would you like me to talk about? And I'll work on it. I will absolutely make an episode. I keep calling it podcast, but it's an episode of the podcast for you. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this one. Thank you for tagging along. Thank you for the support. I really greatly appreciate it, and hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later.